Hey, we're live. Our Black Friday edition of the Homebuyer Seminar. I'm Bill Gross, along with my colleague and friend.
Patricia Castillo.
And we're here live because the real estate market's been busy, a little too busy in the run up to Thanksgiving to spend a lot of time, but we want to get together and share a couple of items. So, Patricia, I know we have a short time today because I know people are off, but what do we want to highlight today? What's going on in the market that we need to make sure people know about?
Thanks, Bill. Hi, everybody. I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. So, we wanted to just touch base a little bit today on how buyers are feeling right now when they're buying a home. You can tell when you're talking to a buyer how prepared they are in terms of where their mindset is at. So, they may be fearing, the payment after they buy a home. And so this is what we wanted to talk to you guys about today was how to avoid having that buyer's remorse after you buy a home. It's kind of like Black Friday, right? People go out and spend money on things that you probably really don't need just because it's on sale. And then afterward you think, well, I probably shouldn't have spent all that money on all these appliances I didn't really need. But when you're buying a home, obviously it's much different. You're going to be in this home for at least 5 to 10 years. And some people may not move for maybe 10 to 15 years. And so you want to make sure that when you buy a property and the goal is to buy the property, but when you're getting prepared, you're getting your loan approval, you're talking to your agent about, where it is that your comfort zone is with that monthly payment. You're going to take into consideration your property taxes, your monthly insurance. If you're going to be putting down less than 20% for your payment, you're going to have PMI, private mortgage insurance. So you're going to have three extra costs added to your, they're not costs, but they're just part of the expense, the living expense. And once you become really familiar with that payment, it's not going to scare you. You're not going to feel that fear of having to make that payment every month because you're going to be well acquainted with that payment. And so that's going to help to, alleviate some of those fears that you might have. I mean, sure, you're going to feel a little nervous. You're going to feel excited about buying a home, having that monthly payment. But most people that I'm talking to right now are already paying pretty high rent, anywhere from 3,000 to 4,000. So you're going to pay a little bit more for a home that you're going to have that's going to be your own. You're going to, think of all the positives of buying the property. You're going to be able to write off your property taxes. You're going to be able to write off your mortgage insurance every year when you file your taxes. But one of the things to prepare so that you're not having that buyer's remorse is get comfortable with your mortgage payment, know what that's going to be, and also have a few months of emergency savings. Because when you buy a home, things happen, just like when you buy a car. You could have a small roof leak, you could have a pipe crack or burst, and then you're going to need to have some money to fix that, just like you would if your car broke down. It would be a really good idea to have a budget for the maintenance costs for your home and also for a few months reserves. What if for some reason had an emergency and weren't able to work? What if you were sick? I mean, you could get disability, right? That happened to me when I think I was just about to buy my home and I had to take a year off of work. And that's when I had cancer treatment. And so with the disability, I was able to cover everything, but it was really tight. And so you want to make sure that you have funds set aside for that once you buy your home. So this is all part of the planning process so that you're well informed, well prepared, and this will help to get you feeling more confident, not just comfortable, but confident in buying this home. Um, what do you think, Bill, as far as not overextending yourself also when you're looking to buy a home?
Well, I think one of the things you said that people don't think about is you should have a budget for maintenance because when you own a home, two things are going to happen. A, things are going to break or wear out. right? It's just the way life works. It's going to happen, irregularly, but it's going to happen. And that could be
Yeah.
anything from, I mean, just last month we had, a couple of faucets and a this and a that. And, but I think that for the most part, that's part of, owning a property. You go through those things. And then the second thing is you want to improve things. You want to fix this because you own it. You can make it better. So I bought a house that was older and had been remodeled. But, we've added this and that and changed this and changed that. And so that's another thing you would budget for. And I think, for me and my family, we rather make our house nicer to entertain our family than maybe go on vacation. So that budget that we might have spent, that some people allocate for vacations every year. Now, you can do both if you can afford it. But for us, we've really allocated money to make our home nicer so that our grandkids can play. Right now, they're playing in the playroom. And so there's certain things we've been doing to make it more agreeable for them that cost money. And so I think budgeting that, planning ahead is important. Be realistic about it. And I think the other thing is, the last I would say is you have to look in long term, because owning a property, the purpose is not you're going to get rich in 6 months or a year. The purpose is you're going to live in your house, you add stability where you're going to live, you create your nest, make it nice the way that you want it. And 20, 30 years from now, you've made a lot of equity because you held the house and held it for a long time. And that money you made has tremendous tax advantages over similar investments.
That's right. So when you're looking at, you were talking about this property, let's say whatever home you're buying, it's going to be a long-term hold. You're not going to sell it in 6 months or a year.
Right.
You're going to buy it and hold it, live there for maybe 5 or 10 years. At that time, you would have gained some appreciation, some equity in your property.
Right.
And one of the important things to do also is really look at the neighborhood and what is close by, because you may love the home and the location because you drove by it and then you went to the open house and you fell in love with the property. There might be a metro rail or some kind of nuisance close by, close enough to where you can hear it. So do you want to hear the train blowing the horn in the morning at 7 a.m., the commuter train, when it's taking people to work, right? If you're living near the train, you're going to hear those noises. So those are things that are really important. Just really research the property. When I bought my house here in Downey, I was kind of familiar with the neighborhood, but not 100% because I had never really come out to Downey too much. But I had lived in Montebello for quite some time, and which is not too far from Downey. But when we were in escrow, I would come by and just drive around the neighborhood at different times of the day, in the morning, in the afternoon, and then in the evening, because that's when you see the normal activity that's taking place in the neighborhood. And so my daughter would ask me, Mom, what are we doing here? Because I would park at the corner and just watch the neighbors and see what was going on. I said, we're just observing. We're observing what's taking place. If we're going to live here, we want to see what's happening. So that's what I did. That's what made me feel better, because I started to know the neighbors here and started asking them questions and talking to them because I was seeing them a couple of times a week. So that's what I did. That really made me feel also like, this is my home. This is where I'm going to live. This is my new community. So I started feeling that connection with it. But that's one of the things that you can also do is budget. So we talked about budgeting for your mortgage, having a few months reserves, having some kind of maintenance fund for any repairs that come up. The day after, was it the day after? No, it was like the week after that we closed escrow on my home. My whole house backed up. It completely backed up. So I had to call a plumber in here. But those are things that happen, right? So you could be faced with some plumbing issue that happens where you're going to have to call a plumber, unless you know somebody that can handle it for you. That's great. But if you don't, then you do need to have some kind of maintenance fund available. So researching the neighborhood is important. And also when you're in escrow or right before you open escrow, when you're looking at properties, Bill, this last escrow I opened this week, I mentioned that I did a reel on it on Instagram. There were 24 offers on the property. So some people will get so excited about the property that they want their offer to be more attractive, and they'll say, let's just skip the home inspection, right? Let's just make it easier for the seller. Let's make our offer more appealing. Let's skip the home inspection. But that's something that could be very, very risky because there are things that the naked eye can't see. We're not going under the house during a trip to the open house, right? We're not going to be going under the house or on top of the roof. So it's very risky to do that. I never advise my clients to skip a home inspection because that is going to be part of your due diligence during your contingency. And you can still make your offer stronger with shorter contingencies, but you never want to skip out completely on the home inspection.
I agree. I agree 100%. Yeah, I mean, I think there are times I sell houses as a listing agent, and people make these offers, and sometimes come back and regret it because they've waived contingencies, and they'll do the inspection, but they're not. They've waived the right to ask for concessions and discover more money than they planned on. So I think the key there is to inspect it. Now you may or may not be able to get concessions from the seller, but at least you'll know what you're getting into going in. And now with AI, one of the things I've learned to do is take a home inspection and upload it to I actually use several AIs at a time to kind of check the differences. And I'll ask them, make a list of repairs that are important and give me an estimate based on local contractors for that work. And it'll come back with an estimate. Now, of course, and recommendations. And of course, you can call them and get detailed estimates, and that's another part of the work. But you literally can have that much work done that I find pretty accurate within minutes. And so there's no reason not to have the information's power. Whether you use it or not, that's your decision in negotiating. But if you don't have the information, you've given away that power, I think.
Absolutely. We are in escrow right now on a property that looks great. And we have the home inspector go under the house, and there's a pretty significant water leak down there. Nobody ever knew about it, right? Nobody ever goes into the house unless you have to.
Right.
So these are things that, I mean, what kind of concessions do you see, Bill, when you get an offer from a buyer? What would be a reasonable concession if when you see a buyer come in an offer come in from one of the buyers on the listings that you have, and you can tell when something is being really inflated or something is being there, the offer is actually more reasonable?
Yeah, I think the first clue is how do we get here? Because sometimes you have customers you have buyers who make full price offer, and they maybe saw the house once. They went to open house, they saw the house. Well, they haven't really looked yet. So now they're coming back and saying, wow, we noticed this, we noticed that. Well, that was there all along. The purpose of asking for concessions is really, there's two roles to it. One is it's a negotiation ploy. And it can be legitimate or not based on how, you can use it. And second, it can be legitimate if you discover things that maybe should have been disclosed, or now that you discover them, any other buyer would have to know about it and would cause them to owe less on the property. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you discovered, you do an inspection, and the inspector realizes the HVAC system has a serious problem, and while it's running, it's going to wear out within a short period of time. It's in its last useful lifespan, and the repair would be dramatic. Then I think that two things are true. One is somebody's have to pay for that, whether it's the seller or the buyer or the next buyer. And two, we want to put that information out there. So that's a case where no buyer would have noticed that. If you look at the house and everything looks to be in good condition or reasonable condition, we expect that they're going to have to, replace the HVAC system or wait till it breaks. But what's not reasonable is to come back and say, oh, well, we want a new HVAC, and a new HVAC is $40,000 or whatever. Well, the house isn't new. You're getting a used house. And so I think sometimes buyers feel like they're signing up for a bridal registry where all the things they want from the seller, oh, I want you to fix this, fix that. And I remember I sold a house once where we lived there for about 10 years. And when we moved in, every single spring behind the door was broken through the entire house. Now, that was kind of an old-fashioned style. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, those little springy things that go in the back of the door.
Right.
And this house, because it was built with them, and we took the house over, and we didn't really care that much. Everyone was broken, and a couple of the door handles had made scrapes in the wall, broken the wall. And the buyer was asking for money, among other things, to fix all those. I said, Look, did you not notice that when you walked around the house? You didn't see that? Did we hide it from you somehow? No. Well, the house being sold as is. If you discover something, then I think you're entitled to, because what happens is the seller now has to disclose it to the next buyer. So using my HVAC example, the seller has to disclose that HVAC is in final days and is recommended to be replaced immediately.
Mhm.
And any buyer who sees that might offer a little less on the property because of that. That's where you have a chance to ask for concessions. But when things that you otherwise should have seen when you walk the house, I think it becomes a negotiating point. Now, of course, buyers are welcome to negotiate as much as they want, but again, if you're as a listing agent, my job is to protect the value for my customer. As a buyer's agent, your job is to get your buyer the best possible price, and so that just becomes, I don't want to say it's a game, but it's kind of like a game where there's money at stake for our customers.
Right. Absolutely. And I think that's one of the important things to explain to buyers when they go look at houses because they may want to buy a home that's needs some TLC. It's easier on the wallet because it's a little less expensive than a home that's completely remodeled with top of the line appliances and finishes. But when you're going through the property, I point out things to my buyers. This is a cosmetic repair. This is not something that we can negotiate, right? One of my clients had asked me, I don't like that gate on the in the driveway. Do you think we can ask for a new gate? Those aren't things that you can negotiate, right? Because unless there's something wrong with the gate, it's not functional, it's falling down. You
Well, it's
may
not
want
legal. Like if the gate, if it's a door that's not legally attached in a proper way that violates code or something, that's different than I just don't like the gate. I want a better gate.
correct. So those are things that are important to know when you're writing the offer, looking at property, knowing what to look for,
Yep.
maybe pointing things out in your offer that would cause for that price adjustment. That would be a good
Yep.
support to drop the price or ask for a concession.
It's been a while since we live streamed. We got people watching live on YouTube. Shout out to our YouTube people. And we got people watching live on Facebook. Shout out to our Facebook friends.
Awesome. Thank you for watching, everybody. So, this is a fun part of real estate because you just never know what's going to happen. The property that we're in escrow on had 24 offers.
Wow.
I was the second offer in line. The first offer was way over asking, was accepted, but many times the highest offer is not the best offer. And right now, we're seeing a lot of buyers that are canceling escrow because maybe they get cold feet, they have buyer's remorse,
Yep.
and they start second guessing the high offer that they made in the heat of the moment at the time of all the offers coming in. You get that second round where you get that second opportunity with the seller multiple counter offer where you can up your bid again. So I think the buyers just got cold feet. They pulled out. The listing agent, I had stayed in contact with him. He called me and said, you know what, you're second in line. Your offer was really clean. If your clients are still interested, we can move forward with your offer.
Nice.
So this is a time to look at property. There's more inventory on the market. Really pay attention. If your offer was not accepted the first time, it's okay. Keep in touch with the listing agent. Keep your eye on that property. It may fall out of escrow and you may end up having another opportunity to buy the property that you really wanted.
There are people who've never seen the property, but they write a high offer because they want to lock it up. And they'll say to me as listing, well, we don't want to look at it until we know we have the opportunity to buy it. Like, yeah, okay, I know that's what you want, but my seller wants to get top dollar. We don't do that by locking up the property with one person. And there's other people who, they look at it quickly, but they don't really think through the numbers. And when they really get to the numbers, they run their mortgage numbers, they run the insurance, they really look at the expenses. And so I think you have to make the best offer you can. It's a competitive market, but oftentimes if there's an offer that's unreasonable, those fall out today. In the COVID period, those stuck because everything was going up so quickly. Nowadays, it's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So this market offers a lot of opportunity right now.
So besides leftover turkey, Patricia, what's this weekend look like for you? Are you holding open houses? Are you still working? You taking off and get ready for next week? What's your plan?
No, I'm working on a few other clients that I have appointments scheduled for, and looking at some repairs that we're going to be looking at as well, getting some estimates.
Nice. And so, to get, I guess we should come bring this to a wrap. I know we have a little time bind. Patricia, someone's get a hold of you. What's the best way to get a hold of you?
My cell phone 323-365-9909.
And I'm Bill Gross, at Bill Gross Probate on social media. Hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving weekend. We have a lot to be grateful for. Look forward to seeing you guys next year. Thank you, or next month. It's
Next
month.
month.
Yeah,
Next month,
month,
December.
next week. Have a great one. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.